We will soon find out if it's working. Hi, everybody. This lesson about what's the difference between two different things will start in about 40 seconds. We'll see. I see Hafiez in the chat saying, what is the difference between a wave and a crocodile? It'll be things that are a little closer, things that sometimes we get confused about. Anyways, we'll start in 25 seconds once I make sure everything is working properly. Sounds like everything is working right. Let me just check one more time. Yeah, good. We'll start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, hello and welcome to this lesson, which I've titled, What's the Difference? Of course, what's is the contraction of what is. So what is the difference? And then we usually add the word between. This lesson idea came from all of you because I think this came up a week ago or 2 weeks ago, or even further in the past. What's the difference between an alligator and a crocodile? In this lesson, we'll look at I think there's about 25 pairs of words, and I'll explain how they are different from each other. So once again, welcome to this English lesson that I've titled, What's the Difference? You'll get to learn 2 words on every slide. I'll have the definition and a picture to make it easy for you to remember. Once again, welcome. Let's get started. Well, hello. Welcome, everybody. You know, I do that little let's get started thing because when I edit it, I want to go directly into the lesson, but when it's live, I don't. So this is live. If you're watching this, it's 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in Ontario, Canada. The live stream is working properly. We already have over 100 people here. I'm always surprised when people start flowing into the live stream. Hi to Freddie Wolf, Know That, Sen, Hafiez, Cat Diary, Arya, Lolly, Burgit, Mode Eggs, Hamodi, Mohammed, NY. Nightbot's here too. Lolly, I think I've said already. Let me scroll back. Paco San is here. Key Park. Lots of familiar faces ready to learn. Wilma is here. It sounds like Wilma might be flying. Air Canada has a flight that departs from Malpensa Airport in Milan with a stopover in Montreal on the way there, a stopover in Toronto on the way back. Oh, maybe Wilma is flying. We'll see. But hey, again, where do the ideas come for these lessons? They come from you. Or from the world, or someone says something funny to me. So today we're going to look at 2 words at a time. So hopefully it's not too hard for you. And it's not an overly difficult lesson. And it's very random. There's no, we go from alligators to pancakes to democracy. There's a lot of variety in here, and I'll help you learn the difference. Know That says, hey, you have one of your normal t-shirts on again. That means you can move your arm better again, Bob. I guess, yes. So I'm this far now. I don't know if you guys are keeping track. I broke my collarbone. I can raise my hand this far. I can put on, I was wearing really stretchy t-shirts or shirts with buttons, but now I can wear a normal t-shirt. Anyways, we should get started, I think. Should we? Let me have a sip of water. Many of you have noticed in the summer that I have a tendency to ramble on before the lesson. Apartment and condo. Let me make this a lot bigger. Oh, let me move myself. There we go. Apartment versus condo. I don't have to say versus every time, but let's talk about what an apartment is versus a condo, or what's actually called a condominium. So an apartment is a rented living space in a building with multiple units, and we usually call it an apartment building. A condo is a privately owned living space in a building with multiple units. So there's a slight difference here. If you live in an apartment, you pay rent. You send money to someone every month so that you are allowed to live there. If you live in a condo, though, you own the condo. By the way, an apartment and a condo look very similar. They're in a building. It's a tall building. When you walk in, there's a living room and a kitchen and a couple bedrooms and a bathroom. But a condo is something you own, and an apartment is something you rent. You do, when you own a condo, pay condo fees, though, which is just a small fee you pay every month in order to I don't know, pay for the pool and the gym and the person who cleans your windows on the outside and all kinds of little things like that. Alligator and crocodile. So an alligator is a large reptile with a broad, short head and a long tail that lives in fresh water. A crocodile is a large reptile with long jaws, a long tail, and textured skin that lives in brackish water or salt water. So, and I think alligators live in the Americas and in China. And I think crocodiles are found around the world. So I don't know exactly what the major difference is other than the alligator lives in fresh water. So rivers and streams and glades in Florida. And a crocodile lives in brackish water. Brackish water would be a mix of salt water and fresh water. Where a river flows into the ocean, we would call that water brackish. And then salt water is, of course, found in the ocean. Alligator and crocodile. House and home. This question actually comes up quite a bit. A house is simply a building that people live in, usually a family or a small group of people, maybe a bunch of roommates who go to a local university, or a family, a mom and dad and a bunch of kids, or maybe just a couple. A house is just the building, okay? But a home is a more emotional term used to describe the place where you live or where you come from. So I am sitting in my house, but I'm also sitting in my home. And that's where it gets confusing. When I say house, the house has windows. I need to fix my house. I need to clean my house. Home, though, means the place where you live or where you come from. Like, where's home for you? That would be a common question. And you would say, oh, Canada is home. The city of Toronto is home. So it can be broader, or you can even say my home is on this street. So they're a little bit interchangeable, but the difference, I think, is if you live in an apartment or a condo, you can still call it home. It still works that way. Hopefully you understood the difference. I'm not sure I did a good job on that one. Teacher and professor. So this is something that can be confusing for English learners. In English, especially in North America, a teacher is a person who gives lessons to children and young teenagers at a school. So I am a teacher. I go to school during the school year and I create lessons and I teach those lessons to my students. Because I'm in a high school, they are between the ages of 13 and 18. A professor in North America, though, is a person who gives lectures to older teenagers and young adults at a university. So just so we're clear here, a teacher works in an elementary school or in a high school. This is for Canada and the United States. But when you say professor, it's understood that you're now talking about someone who gives lectures at a university to older children, but people who are like age 18 to 25. That's usually the age group that is in university. Jam and jelly. I'm not sure you knew there was a difference, but jam is a sweet, thick spread to put on bread or toast made with crushed or chopped fruit. Notice the jars look really similar. Jelly is a sweet, clear spread, or sort of clear, to put on bread or toast made with fruit juice. So the biggest difference would be that jam actually has strawberries in it, whereas strawberry jelly would just be made from strawberry juice. So it says clear, but if you look at the bottom of the jar, like, see how you can see a little bit of light coming through the jelly? But if you look at the jam jar, there's no light coming through. So you can't see through jelly, but light can get through it. I prefer jam, by the way. So jam, a sweet, thick spread to put on bread or toast. Jelly, a sweet, clear spread to put on bread or toast. Jam is made with fruit, chopped fruit or crushed fruit. Jelly is made with just the juice. Frog and toad. So a frog is an amphibian with smooth, moist skin and long legs for jumping, usually found in water or around water. A toad is an amphibian with dry, warty skin and short legs for hopping, usually found near or even far from water. So a slight difference there. What's an amphibian? I think an amphibian is an animal that lives in and out of the water. And I think when they're young, they have gills and they can live underwater. You know, a little tadpole, like a baby frog, can live underwater, and then eventually it grows into a frog and comes up. So a frog and a toad. I think I could have done the whole lesson just on animals. I didn't add rabbit or hare or tiger or lion or anything like that, but frog, toad, now you know the difference. Mouse and rat. I don't like either of these. A mouse is a small rodent which sometimes lives in your house. We set mouse traps in order to catch them. A rat is a much larger rodent. It looks a lot like a gigantic mouse, and we do have some rats in our barn. And so usually the cats will hunt the rats and catch them. So a mouse, some people think mice are cute. I find them annoying. When they get in our house, they try to eat our food. And so we often will set mouse traps in order to catch them. And then we don't have rats around our house. We did once have our dog food in the garage, and then we started to get rats in the garage. So we don't keep our dog food in the garage anymore. Ice cream and gelato. So ice cream is a light, airy, frozen treat made with milk, cream, sugar, and flavoring. And gelato is Italian, by the way. It's a dense frozen treat made with milk, cream, sugar, and flavoring. So the biggest difference, I would say, is if you read up on it, ice cream has more air in it and is light and creamy, whereas gelato is a little more dense. And it's usually, ice cream can be kind of hard when you scoop it, but gelato isn't. Gelato is usually really soft, and you don't actually scoop it. I think you have like a little spatula that you pick it up with. I really, really like gelato. At Market, there is someone who sells gelato. It's a little pricey, but it is very yummy, and I do enjoy eating it. I think I'm saying gelato correctly. I have to check for a minute. It's not like a word you use often. It is. Yeah, gelato. There we go. Okay, let's do some questions. Let me get a question on the screen. Let me have a sip of water. Hoger says gelato is like chewing gum. Mode says gelato. I was always influenced that gelato is healthier. I think it's supposed to be, but both are definitely sweet treats, aren't they? Okay. From Know That. Hello, Bob. May I ask how long it took you to compile the lesson? On average, longer or shorter than usual? And how much time does it usually take you? Thanks, Bob. So it's kind of funny because it took me a few hours to put this lesson together, probably 3 hours to put everything in the document, find the pictures, etc., etc. During the school year, though, when I'm busier, I usually can finish the lesson in about an hour and a half. But I had lots of time yesterday, and so it took me longer. I always think there must be a law where a job will fill the amount of time that you give it. But usually it takes me about an hour and a half to prepare the lesson, and then maybe another half hour to get everything set up. Let's see. From Mohammed, the other day I asked you if you still remember me, and you didn't because there were many people that have my name, but I do remember that. So I guess I'll mark it with this. Smiley face with sunglasses so you won't ever forget me again. If you put the smiley face with sunglasses, Mohammed, I will definitely remember you. From Vitor. Like I said, I could have done the entire lesson on the differences between animals. I don't have turtle or tortoise. Vitor says, my contribution, a turtle lives in water and a tortoise lives on land. Yeah, as I was researching this lesson, I realized there's a lot of confusion with animals. Like even some people don't totally know the difference between a sheep and a goat. A sheep has wool, by the way, or most sheep do. Oh, Brent's here too. Hey, Brent, good to see you. I think Brent is flying right now. Probably has no idea what time it is. You should listen to the song Jet Lag by Simple Plan. It's a romantic song, but it's about a guy who, whenever he calls home, he never knows what time it is. So, because he's in a rock band, right? Like Brent, though, is not in a rock band, I don't think. And I think he took Jamie with him. I'm not 100% sure. I didn't check. Maybe he didn't. Brent says Parkinson's law, a job will always take the time allotted. Yes, I think teachers are very, very familiar with that law. Minos Mill, hi, Mr. Bob. Good morning. What's the difference between shivering and quivering? So they are similar in the sense of what you're doing, like you're shaking really quickly. Usually shivering is associated with being cold. Like I was really cold, I was shivering. It's the body's attempt to generate heat. And quivering is usually associated with fear. Like he was quivering with fear because he hated flying and he was on a 12-hour flight. From Takagero, I think today is your birthday. Grats. Happy birthday to you. So I think what I have confirmed in the past, I should check this. I don't have any notes, but we know that I think I said once that my birthday is in July. But here's all I will say is thank you to all of you that have already wished me a happy birthday. And thank you for a few of you even sent gifts, which is really cool. So thank you for that. I do appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Let me see. Brett says he's solo. Oh, okay. Have a good flight then. And then Hafia says, did you catch the CEO Jumbotron that went viral? Yeah, I saw that. Maybe Brent will do an English lesson on that. That was an awkward moment for that person. Let's see. Okay. From Mode. The hoser, hi, Mr. Bob. What's the difference between American English and Canadian English? Haha, just kidding, eh? I bet you a toonie someone will ask this question today. Possibly. By the way, hoser is an older Canadian term that people would call someone a hoser if they were like being dumb or I don't know. It was just like a slightly negative term. I'm trying to think of the English equivalent, but good use of an older term. And a toonie, by the way, is a $2 coin. I actually had one somewhere. It's gone now. My kids, when they find money, I think they just take it. Let's see. From Amran, the floor in a condo is higher than an apartment. Am I correct, Bob? Not necessarily. No, and in fact, a condo can also be, like my mom lived in a house that was attached to 5 other houses, and they called it a condo as well. But generally, when I think condo, it's similar to an apartment, except you own it instead of paying rent. So from Curtis, hi, Uncle, what is the difference between a solicitor and a lawyer? So I don't know the actual difference between a solicitor, a lawyer, an attorney. There's a number of words for people who practice law. Solicitor, attorney. I think a lawyer is anyone who has studied law, and an attorney is someone who has passed the exam so they can practice law, but they can be used interchangeably. Yeah. So solicitor. Yeah, it sounds like solicitors handle legal things, but they don't necessarily go to court. So they'll help you with papers and paperwork and those kinds of things. Freddie says, how many people wish you a happy birthday? Is it today the big day? We don't know. It's mystery. It's could be today, could have been last week. It might be July 30th. I have no idea. But so it's my birthday month. That's all we have to know. Happy birthday month to Bob. Happy birth month? Yeah, it's my birth month. Let's see. Okay. From Nima, hello, dear Bob. Thank you so much for your amazing English lessons. I learned a lot from them. You're welcome. I continue to enjoy doing this, and I can see myself doing it for a long time. Barring, I don't know, like if I was offered a really good job that paid lots of money, would I quit YouTube? No, I don't think I would. There's something really enjoyable about this. As a teacher, I get to teach, but I don't have to manage students. Like you guys all behave really well in the chat. It's just an enjoyable way to teach. Zervan, what's the difference between reputation and repetition? So on YouTube, Brent has a very good reputation. What that means is that people know he makes good English lessons. So they would say, He's been doing it for a long time. The lessons he makes are really good. I especially like the ones he's doing now about the news, where he explains the news in simpler English so you can understand. Repetition is when you do something more often. Repetition is what you should do with this video. You should repeat watching this video. Repetition is good for learning. If you say a word out loud many times in a row, you will most likely remember it more. From Luna, I wonder you also experienced some problem when you spoke English again after speaking French. A little fix there for a while. For me, it happened a lot. I felt like losing my first language. Yes. When I lived in Quebec when I was younger, I lived in Quebec for about 9-10 months. When I came home, the first time I went out with my friends, I just sat and listened to them speaking English, and I found it difficult to join in the conversation. It all seemed really fast to me. Okay, is there one more question? Alden Brooks, hello, Bob. What is the difference between afraid and scared? I am afraid of snakes. I am scared of snakes. I am afraid of the dark. I'm scared of the dark. It is very much the same word and can be used interchangeably, I think. He's afraid of heights. She's scared of heights. There's probably some technical difference, but in all the example sentences I just gave, those are correct. Okay. Let's see here. What do I do next? I have a sip of water. I go here and we start learning again. We should go to the big slides though, right? Yes, definitely. Okay. Butter and margarine. So when we eat bread in North America and in many parts of the world, or when we make toast, where you put bread in the toaster and then when it pops up, you will often put butter, which is a spreadable dairy fat made from churning cream. By the way, there's extra words to learn in the definitions here. And margarine is a spreadable fat made from vegetable oils. So spreadable means you can take a knife and spread it on, like you can like put it here and then put a thin layer, spread. And churning is when I'm trying to think. We had a butter churn as a kid and you turned it and then 2 paddles moved inside. There are butter churns where there's a pole and you kind of mush the cream up and down. But butter is a spreadable dairy fat made from churning cream. Margarine is a spreadable fat made from vegetable oils. And they usually put a bit of salt in it sometimes. I prefer butter, by the way. That is my fat of choice to put on toast. Pancake and crepe. So I have to apologize to all of our French viewers. In English, we say crepe. Okay, so you can go to a restaurant and order pancakes, or you can order crepes. So pancakes are a flat cake made from flour, milk, salt, baking powder, and eggs, fried in a frying pan or on a griddle. So a couple new words maybe for you. Baking powder is a powder that makes things rise when you bake them or fry them. And then a griddle is a big flat hot surface that you can fry things directly on. And if you look at the far picture, you can see that pancakes, they are flat and somewhat thin, but they're not as thin as a crepe. So a crepe is a thin, delicate French pancake made from a simple batter of flour, eggs, milk, salt, and sugar. By the way, I'm sure if you order crepes in a North American restaurant, if you're from France, you would probably think they taste too sweet, or I'm sure the recipe is a little different over here. Pancakes are often eaten with butter and syrup on them. Crepes are often eaten with fruit inside them, or even a bit of syrup or other things here. So again, apologies to my French friends if we have taken crepes, crepe, if we've taken them and made them something they're not supposed to be, but that is what they are in North America. Needs and wants. Often in English, we'll talk about needs versus wants. Needs are the things that you have to survive. You need air, you need water, you need sleep, you need food, you need shelter, you need clothes. There are things that you absolutely need. There are other things too, like if you can't walk to your job or take a bus, you need a car. So things that are needed to survive, like food, shelter, water, etc. Wants then are things you don't really need. They're things that people desire, but aren't necessary. You do not need a donut. You want a donut. You do not need a luxury car. You want a luxury car. Sometimes teenagers get these things confused. They think their wants are actually needs. Like, I need the newest iPhone. It's like, no, you want the newest iPhone. You don't actually need it. You need a phone, but you don't need the newest iPhone. You want it. Sensitive versus sensible. This one is often confusing for people learning English. If someone is sensitive, it means they're easily upset or offended about what people say or do. It can also mean they can easily read someone's emotions. Okay. So there are two kind of meanings here. Like, he understood me because he's a very sensitive person. But generally it means, you're easily upset or offended about what people say or do. There's a few different meanings, but it's a state of being, I guess. Sensible simply means reasonable or having good judgment. A sensible person brings an umbrella with them if there is a really good chance it's going to rain that day. A sensible person wears sensible shoes if they're going for a hike. So sensitive, couple of meanings there. Someone who can feel or sense other people's emotions, or also someone who gets upset or offended easily. And sensible, reasonable, and having good judgment. Ocean versus sea. So an ocean is a large continuous oceans are large continuous bodies of salt water. For example, the Atlantic Ocean and Pacific Ocean. So I also wanted to teach you the words e.g. here. So e.g. in English means for example. It's probably a Latin phrase, and I probably should have looked it up. Actually mean, it means for example. Exempli gratia. So it's a Latin phrase. But in English, we read e.g. as for example. So I would say large continuous bodies of salt water, for example, the Atlantic Ocean and Pacific Ocean. A sea then is smaller bodies of salt water, sometimes fresh water, often partially enclosed by land. And you can see the two examples I have given, the Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea. Angry versus mad. First of all, generally in English, there is no difference. He forgot his laptop at home and he was angry. He forgot his laptop at home and he was mad. They basically mean the same thing, but there is a slight difference. Angry is a feeling of annoyance, frustration, or displeasure. Mad can be a little bit more extreme, intense, and potentially irrational state of anger. So, I don't know. I would say this. They're basically the same word in informal, everyday English. Did your parents get angry at you because you came home late? Did your parents get mad at you because you came home late? Both of those sentences are correct. To laugh and to giggle. To laugh is to make sounds and movements with the face and body to express happiness, amusement, or ridicule. So interesting, the last part there. You can laugh, and it's a positive thing, but you can also laugh at someone, and it's a negative thing. If Jen was walking by the house and she tripped and fell and I laughed, that's not a nice thing to do, but that's what a laugh is. So it's like, I can't laugh on demand, so that would be laughing. To giggle then is to laugh lightly, sometimes in an uncontrolled way because of silliness or cheerfulness. Kids will often giggle, like hee 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 hee. That's my fake giggle. It's kind of a lighter version of laughter. When kids, like we went to a family reunion a few weeks ago and there were a lot of little kids and they did a lot of giggling. They were giggling quite a bit while they played. To lend and to borrow. This one is really hard to explain, and I hope my pictures help me with this. But many English learners, when they're learning English, get confused. To lend is to give someone money or an item, expecting repayment or the return of the item. So picture this. I have $100 and you have no money. You say, Bob, do you have $100? And I would say, I will lend you $100. Don't have $100 laying here either. So lending is something the person who is giving something to someone else, that person is doing the lending. I have money, I'm going to lend it to you. Okay. To borrow is then what the other person is doing. It's to use someone else's money or items with the expectation of repayment or return of the item. So you might borrow $100 from me. Another good example would be this. My brother's car broke down. I decided to lend my car to my brother. My brother borrowed my car and drove it for 3 days, and then he brought it back. He returned it to me. So to lend, to give someone money or an item expecting repayment or the return of the item, and to borrow, to use someone else's money or items with the expectation of repayment or return of the item. So again, the person doing the lending has something. The person doing the borrowing is taking that item and then using it themselves. Democracy versus monarchy. There were a lot of types of government, but I picked these two. They're the most relatable for me living in North America, especially in Canada. A democracy is a system of government where people elect leaders. People will vote in a democracy to choose who is going to be the mayor, who's going to be the prime minister, who's going to be the president. In a monarchy, this is a system of government where rulers gain power by birth. If my dad is a king, if my dad's the king of Canada, and I'm the oldest person in the family, I become the king of Canada. No one votes or decides I'm going to be the king. So again, many countries in the world are democracies. Very few are true monarchies anymore. And then there are other systems of government as well that I guess I could do a whole lesson on systems of government. But a democracy, a system of government where people elect leaders, and monarchy, a system of government where rulers gain power by birth. Hey, let's do members only chat. Let me get that turned on. Where's the button for that? It's over here somewhere. If you are new here, don't leave. The lesson will continue in 10 minutes. But right now we are going to do members only chat. If you don't know what this is, members, click the join button below. It's supposed to be a subscribe plus button at some point, so I keep saying both. And they pay a small fee, which I use to make the channel better. And in return, they get a number of items. Now, I have to be honest, for the last 7 weeks, they haven't gotten these items because I broke my collarbone and pulled my hamstring, but I will return to full form soon. But the items they get, usually a lesson plan on Mondays, an extra video on Wednesdays, their name in green during a live stream, and a small crown by their name. And they will have access to an app to practice vocabulary that I'm developing, which isn't quite done yet, but I'm getting there. It's really cool. I like it. I know you all know vocabulary, but I'm trying to build it so it's super fun. So anyways, that's what members get. Let's see here. It's nice when you can laugh with someone. Yes, not at them. Let's see. I'm just reading back because I wanted to see if there was any comments on the crepes. Mode says, do you prefer crepes sucré or salé? Oh, salt, sugar, or salty? Yeah, Mediterranean has warmer water. Okay. I will answer questions from the forum as well as from the chat. I'll let a few more questions pop into the chat before I start down there. MD says, happy almost birthday or belated birthday. Which is it? I should teach that term. If my birthday was on June 20th and you ran into me on June 23rd, you would say, hey, happy belated birthday, recognizing the fact that my birthday was in the past. I guess the inverse would be upcoming birthday. Like you could say to someone, have a good day on your upcoming birthday. That sounds really formal, but we do say that, happy belated birthday. Is it my belated birthday? Maybe not. Anyways, just 2 days to go until your special day. May this upcoming birthday bring you joy, love, and everything you truly deserve. Thanks, MD. That's a good guess. Maybe it's a bad guess. We'll see. Let me jump to the chat. Mode says King Robert III. So I'm looking at members' questions in the chat now. King Robert III. Well, I am the first Robert of my name. So if I became the King of Canada, I would be King Robert I. My dad's name was George. So he would have been King George. Probably not the first, I think, because he had a Dutch name. Gert, I think was his name. Anyways, King Robert I. First of his name. King of the small farm in the middle of nowhere. Know that says, to get back to my form question, Bob, do you know off the top of your head which of your lessons was the most time consuming and why? Thanks in advance. So in terms of Friday lessons, they all take about the same amount of time, 2 to 4 hours to prepare, maybe 5. What slows me down is I have a subscription to a service where I can get pictures. And sometimes I can't find the right picture and it takes extra time. I think when I'm doing lessons about emotions, it's sometimes hard to find pictures. If it's a picture of jam versus jelly, that's easy to just find on the internet. And democracy and monarchy, my subscription for photos, that was easy. But the longest lessons to make are the ones where I go and drive around. Like the lesson I did a few weeks ago, I think the end of May on outdoor places. It took me all day. I drove around all day to make that lesson. So, Hafia is, my country is a monarchy here. Aha. Are you of royal blood? Are you related? What number are you in line for the throne? So maybe you're 11th in line. So that means if the 10 people ahead of you met their fate, you would be a monarch. Minos Mill says, hi, Mr. Bob. What is the difference between boring and bored? I'm boring on your lessons, but I never get bored with it. Okay, so you got to be careful with that one. Because if you say, I'm bored, it means you're not enjoying whatever you're doing. So if you're watching a TV show and you say, I'm bored, it means you're not enjoying it. Okay. If you say, I'm boring, it means other people think you're dull and not very enjoyable to be around. So you have to be careful. I think I did a lesson on this a long time ago. I even taught, in that lesson, I taught a couple of words and I didn't realize one of the word pairs was actually a word we shouldn't use anymore. And then Brett messaged me and said, don't use that word. You should edit it out. Because I thought it was a common word, but it's actually derogatory in the US. So, but yeah, there is a lesson out there about, fun versus funny, bored versus boring, etc., etc. I can't remember the title of it. Let me see if I can find it for a sec. Bob the Canadian, bored, boring. Is this the one? I don't know. No, I've made a lot of lessons, haven't I? Sometimes it's hard to find the one back that you want to give a link to. Anyways, let's see here. No, that says, what are your plans for today and the weekend, Bob? Are you going to the movie theater to watch F1 or did you already watch it last Friday? If so, how was it? I saw F1. I loved it. I do like car racing to a certain degree. I don't watch it on TV, but I found the movie F1 with Brad Pitt out super fun. It was good to see it in the theater on the big screen because you are in the car. Let's see here. Freddie Wolf. When French people talk about the monarchy, it gets a little awkward. Our last king has been shortened during the revolution in 1789, since we mostly have leaved it a democracy. Yes. So France, if you're wondering, France decided to have a democracy. In order to do that, something had to happen to the king. No, that says, how was the market? It was good, actually. Did you visit Jen there again? I did not. I hope sales went well and Jen didn't melt in the heat. It actually cooled off throughout the day. A cold front moved in. So it was in the low 20s, actually. Hopefully, Sheer, you treated yourselves to a large portion of ice cream afterward to cool off a bit. I did have a bowl of mint chocolate chip. Let's see here. Mode pulling up the last video. Mode says, that was a really good video on Tuesday. Thanks again. I enjoyed making that one. But I think I shared this in the comments with Know That. I had just gotten a haircut And when I went out to shoot the video, it was early morning and there was a lot of cloud cover and smoke. There's forest fires again. But then halfway through making the video, the sun came out and I was worried I was going to get a sunburn on my scalp, like the skin under my hair. But I didn't. So, but yeah, I like making those videos. Wait, what? I'm just a peasant. Could you pronounce the word noggin? Yeah, this is my noggin. Because beside your comment, I've come across the word a few times here and there, and I've never heard it be pronounced. Thanks a lot, Bob. Yeah. So noggin is an informal term that we use to talk about our heads. So I didn't want to get a sunburn on my noggin. That means not on my head. Freddie, Bob, gelato is made with milk and cream, whereas sorbet is made without. Am I right? I believe so. By the way, we call sorbet in English, we call it sherbet or sherbet. Sometimes we call it sorbet. Key Park says, what is the difference between peasant and farmer? So historically, a peasant would be someone who works, who's very poor, probably works on a farm for someone else, and maybe doesn't even get paid. They might just get food and shelter, their needs. Whereas a farmer is someone, it's a term we still use, which means someone who grows food for themselves and for other people. Sorry, I'm turning off members only chat right now. That's what I'm doing. Let's see. No, that says, thanks for answering my question. No problem. And should we get back to the lesson? We should at some point, shouldn't we? Let me see here. Oh, 262 people watching. That's nice. If you're one of the 262 people, don't forget to click that red subscribe button. Give me a thumbs up. Leave a comment below. That's the fastest English I can speak. Hopefully you understood what I was saying. Let's get back to the lesson. Here we go. What are we at? Win and earn. So to win, when you talk about money, means money or items gained by chance. You can win the lottery. You can win a bet with someone. You can win a poker game at the casino, and you would get money, and that's money gained by chance. To earn means money or items gained by working. Okay, I earn money by working at my job. And I put this one in because I've heard English learners get this confused, where they use win when they should be using earn. So again, if you buy a lottery ticket and if they pick your numbers, you win the lottery. If you have a job, you earn money for working. And then I did put a note there, win can also be used to describe a person or team that beats another person or team in a sporting event. So your team can win. I just wanted to add that there. Fun and funny. This is similar to bored and boring. You have to be careful. Fun is something or someone that is enjoyable. So you could say Joe is a fun guy. You could say that playing Jenga is a fun game. Something or someone that is enjoyable. But funny means that something or someone that makes you laugh. So if you say Joe is funny, it means he probably tells a lot of jokes. If you say, when we get together and we go to a bar to hear a comedian, the comedian is funny. He tells a lot of jokes. So fun can simply mean amusing, enjoyable. It's fun to sit and talk with your family. It doesn't mean you're laughing all the time. You just enjoy the experience. But if you say Uncle Ralph is funny, it means he says things that make you laugh. Alone and lonely. Another pair of words that English learners sometimes get confused. When you are alone, it means being somewhere all by yourself with no other people. When you're lonely, it means how you feel when you are alone and would like to be with other people. So let me clarify. The guy on the dock fishing or whatever he's doing, he's alone. He might love being alone. I actually like going for a walk alone. I don't like walking with other people. And so when you are alone, it's not a positive or negative word. It just simply means there's no other people around. I'm going to build something later this summer and I'm going to do it alone because I like working alone. But when you're lonely, it's a feeling where you want to be with other people, but you are not. So you are lonely. You really, it's how you feel when you are alone, but would like to be with people. So To accept and accept. First of all, these are pronounced the same way. If you slow down, there probably could be a slight difference, like to accept or accept. I say them the same way. To accept is a verb, to receive something or to agree to something. So they told me I had the job, so I accept the job. He gave me a present for my birthday. I accept the gift. It means to receive something or to agree to something. The second version above the pizza, accept, means other than. And the example is, I like all pizza toppings except pineapple. That means I don't like pineapple. There you go. To lie and to lay. First of all, we use these interchangeably and we shouldn't, but we do anyways. But to lie means to put your body in a horizontal position to rest. I did a lot of that for the last 6 weeks. And then note, this can also mean to say something that isn't true, like I could lie to you. But if I say this, I'm going to have a nap later today. I'm going to lie on the couch and sleep. To lay means to put, set, or place something down on a table. So I am going to take these reading glasses and I'm going to lay them down on the desk. Now, that being said, sometimes people say things like this. I'm going to lay down and have a nap. I'm going to lie these down on the table. So we probably use lay quite often when we should use lie. That's the most common informal, incorrect use. But yes, to lie, to put your body in a horizontal position to rest. By the way, that's how I've been sleeping for 7 weeks, on a couch with pillows. I think I can sleep in a bed soon again. We'll see. And to lay, to put, set, or place something down on a table, etc. By the way, there's 3 more verbs in there, right? To put down, to set down, to place down. They're all phrasal verbs that you can use the same way as to lay. Desert and dessert. A desert is a hot, arid, dry, sandy place. If you don't know the word arid, it simply means a location where it doesn't rain very often. So a desert usually has lots of sand, and it's hot, it's arid, it's dry, it's sandy. A dessert, though, is a yummy snack after a meal. Excuse me. Did I use the expression once, it went down the wrong hole? It's an informal expression to explain what just happened now. I swallowed, but excuse me. There we go. A dessert is a yummy snack after a meal. The desert is a hot, arid, dry, sandy place. By the way, I was going to teach another phrase. I opened this bottle of water yesterday, and I'm going to drink it today because I don't want it to go to waste. Okay, we're all good now. When you let something go to waste, like if I drank half this bottle of water and just left it outside for a week, there would probably be algae and other things growing in it. It would have gone to waste. It would not be usable anymore. Moral and morale. So this is going to take me a little bit, I think. When you are a moral person, you are a just person. You're holding high standards for good. We always hope that the moral people in the world will speak out and do things to make the world better. Morale, though, is the feelings of a person or group. When I'm in a good mood, the morale in the chat is very high. At work, when the boss buys us pizza, the morale is very high. When a team wins a championship, the team has very high morale. Okay, so moral or morals are like standards for good. You can have a lack of morals as well, but morale with the E on the end, morale would be the feelings of a person or group. Apparently that's the end. I didn't realize that was the end. I thought I had more, but that's fine, isn't it? I will answer some questions. Let me just skim the chat for a bit. Freddie Wolf says, Bob, I'm pretty sure that Jen and your kids know your birthday because you can't remember it. You could ask them to refresh. And Brent says, wait, I have an Uncle Ralph. He just turned 90. I have an Uncle Ralph as well. He's not 90 though, but he's got to be close actually. He's probably mid 80s, I think. Cy Sandy says, this is my first time to join the live stream. I'm happy to know this English learning channel. Well, welcome, Cy Sandy. Very cool to have you here. You probably joined right when I was talking about the desert being sandy, but Sandy is also a name, by the way. Let's see. Freddie Wolf says, Bob, do you know Lucky Luke, the lonesome cowboy who shoots faster than his shape? I do not, but I should look it up. Bande dessinée, je pense. Okay. Gaurav says, thank you, teacher. Yes. Mode says, what's the difference between algae and moss? Oh, no. I said no nerdy questions today. Algae grows in water. Moss grows on rocks in wet places. We actually have some moss close to one of our sheds. So again, if water looks green or it has green on top, there's probably algae growing in it. And you got to flip the E and A at the end of algae, I think. And then moss grows on rocks. Both are green. Brent says, I know Bob's birthday. I'm not telling. I think he does, actually. I don't know Brent's birthday, though. I'll have to ask him someday. Okay, let me see here. Let me get to the form. So I have a few questions to wrap this up. Sufane. Hi, Bob. How are you? I get confused with cold, flu, which is common with the English speaker. I have flu or I have a cold. So here's how we use these two. If you have a stuffed up nose and a cough and a sore throat, we often say that we have a cold, but it could be a flu. But we usually say stomach flu when our stomach is upset and we're throwing up. So yeah, we use the word flu, I think, incorrectly sometimes. We usually use flu to talk about our stomach being upset, and anything else we generally refer to as a cold, at least in my area. That's how I would say it. I'm going to be, hi, Mr. Bob. Glad to see you back on track again. No questions today. Just wish you good luck. Well, thank you. I hope you're having a good day wherever you are. From Unsel. Hi, Unsel. Hi, Mr. Bob. What's the difference between being fluent and being confident when speaking a foreign language? Which one matters more to you and why? Thanks a lot. Bye. Here's what I would say. If you're fluent, let's say you speak French and you know you're going to have an English conversation tomorrow for work. If you're fluent, you don't even think about it. You just say, oh yeah, I got a meeting with Joe tomorrow or Uncle Ralph and I have to speak English. I'll be fine. I'm fluent. If you're confident, you might still just prepare a little bit so that you can do it well. Like fluent means you can speak the language without even thinking twice. Confident simply means you've prepared enough that you feel really good as you're having that conversation. That's how I would describe it. From Fatih, what if his title were doctor? Would students call their lecturer professor anyway? So in a Canadian university and in the American university where I went, it was common to call everyone a professor. You know, I had Professor Ralph, I had Professor Smith. So you wouldn't say Ralph, you would use their last name. Lecturer is a common term as well. If almost all professors have their PhD, so are technically, I guess, doctors, but yeah, students usually call them professor. I don't know, it might be different in some American universities, but I just know you wouldn't say this. Do you have Dr. Smith for English? Do you have Dr. Smith for history? You would say, do you have Professor Smith for history? Maybe Brent can chime in about professor. I'm pretty sure in most Canadian and American universities, you use the term professor when referring to them. Okay, that's it. There's something you need to know, though. This lesson, I will make it shorter. I will remove all of the viewer questions, and it will become a nice, tidy 23 or 26-minute lesson that talks about the differences between all these words. By the way, if you didn't realize it, there were 50 words, 48 words in this lesson. Plus, in the definitions, there might have been a few more words like griddle. Griddle. Did you get that? Griddle under pancake. A flat, hot surface for frying things on. You can cook eggs on a griddle, pancakes on a griddle. You can even make crepes or crepe on a griddle. Brent says, yeah, I think it's the same, Bob. Yeah, we just called them prof. Like, what prof do you have? We use the short form. From the chat, Vitor says, thanks, no problem. No, that's it. Oh, this lesson will come out in a shorter version in 2 days. You should watch it again, or at least listen to it again. And if you're crazy, you should listen to it 3 times. you don't have to be crazy to do that. It's actually a good idea. Repetition, as I mentioned earlier, is always good. Anselmo says, I am a beginner in the English language. I venture much in your classes and tips and embrace of Brazil. I'm glad you're here. I hope you are learning lots. Hafiez, in the UK, they use doctor. Ah, interesting. Yeah, it's always important. I try to remind myself to say here in Canada or in North America, this is the way it's done. Because even something like pancakes, I don't know if they call them flapjacks in some places. I don't even know if they eat them in the UK. Don't you guys just have beans on toast in the UK all the time? Isn't that the common thing to eat? Okay, anyways. Happy birthday, happy belated birthday to me, or happy upcoming birthday to me, or happy birthday today. Who knows? Either way, we all know I'm getting older, definitely grayer every year. I should change the little picture on my channel at some point. Let me see. Questions are done. I'm done. Bye, everybody. Have a great day. I'm going to drink this water so it doesn't go to waste. Someday, I need to make an outro. Like cue the outro, and then it goes to a nice screen, and then music playing, etc., etc. But you know what I will say is that is one of my bows. I like shooting bow and arrow. And because I broke my collarbone, they think it'll be a full year before I can shoot my bow and arrow again. And it's something I started last year, and I'm really enjoying. Freddie Wolf says, Bob, quoi? C'est déjà terminé? That was a great lesson, comme d'habitude. Pardon pour le franglish. Pas du problème. No problem at all. More salt than pepper. Still looking good though. Thanks, Hafiz. Yeah, it's interesting when I buzz my hair. Like I use clippers, not scissors. I use like bzzz. And then when I look on the floor, it's more gray than brown. Anyways, if you're new here, hit the subscribe button. If you enjoyed the lesson, please watch it again in a few days, and have a great weekend. Bye.